social studies teacher for the internet. Yeah. So everybody, Trump is trying to put together a cabinet, and he's been putting forth a bunch of very controversial figures. One of the things that Trump ran on was the idea of getting rid of the establishment in Washington and replacing it with other people. Draining the swamp is what he called it. Well, the guy he's floating for Secretary of State is a guy named John Bolton, who is the literal physical embodiment of Yosemite Sam. The guy is as trigger happy and loves war as much as humanly possible. Let's go back. Let's go back to 1998. Bill Clinton was still president, and Iraq was having inspectors going through looking for weapons of mass destruction. There was no fly zone, and Iraq was under control. Saddam Hussein was still president. This is a letter that was written by a group called the Project for the New American Century. And this was a think tank that was headed up by a bunch of neoconservatives with people like Donald Rumsfeld, Bill Kristol, who is always on Fox News, Paul Wolfowitz, people that ended up being key members of Bush's pro-war administration. Well, John Bolton signed this letter along with Bill Kristol and Paul Wolfowitz and Don Rumsfeld. And in it, he asked President Bill Clinton to go to war in Iraq because of concerns about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which we have never found. And that was a main argument for why we should go into Iraq after 9/11, which, as everyone should know, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Most of the people that attacked us in 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. Different country, different people, different everything. After all this happened, one of the things that happened was this very intense pro-war guy, John Bolton. Bush put him into the United Nations, and this guy hates the United Nations. He doesn't believe in it. This guy is now being tasked to be potentially our Secretary of State in charge of fostering relationships with other countries. And just yesterday, he says that we need to do a regime change in Iran. So if you guys thought that Trump was going to be anti-war, if he was going to be isolationist and keep our business, to ourselves and away from other countries, you're probably wrong. When your Secretary of State is urging for war in Iran, and he has a history of urging for wars in another country and making it happen, that's what you're going to get. I have felt all along that Donald Trump may be a charlatan. There's a lot of evidence for that in his business dealings and all the fraud cases against him, the bankruptcies that have happened and the people he's defrauded, the many contractors that he hasn't paid. Right now it looks like Trump is barely involved at all in selecting his cabinet. And the people that they're picking are a bunch of people from the Bush era that aren't very well liked now. They've been sort of pushed out because their policies did not work. But here we are again. It's like 2000 all over again, but on steroids. So there's many people we could talk about besides John Bolton. The Project for the New American Century, where this letter came from in 98, their whole philosophy was that the United States needs to be a global hegemony. A hegemony means there's just one superpower. Before, in the Cold War, there were two superpowers. There was the United States and the Soviet Union. And their idea was that the United States needs to be the sole world power, and the way to prove that is to fight two wars simultaneously and to defeat the enemy. That's how you prove to the world that you can do whatever you want, and nobody can challenge your power. Well, obviously what ended up happening is we fought in two wars. It was insanely expensive. We don't have a lot to show for it at all. And here we are. It's very strange that Donald Trump ran his campaign talking frequently about how Hillary Clinton voted for the war in Iraq and how he was not for that, despite the evidence that he wasn't for the war in Iraq. And now here we are. Here we are again, but with a much larger national debt, with a society that needs more jobs and higher paying jobs. If you're worried about the United States going to war in the near future after Trump becomes president, that's a fear that makes sense when you're talking about John Bolton running the Secretary of State position. Good luck, America. Good luck, Iran. You know, I could do videos about this about every cabinet member, but this one is truly troubling because of how much this guy loves war. You do not want to put a guy who loves war into the position of Secretary of State because they're diplomat. That's a diplomatic position. You want to put somebody that loves peace in those positions, somebody that's eager to achieve peace. You know, educate yourselves, learn about the Project for the New American Century, learn about John Bolton, and if you don't like it, start emailing, phone calling, writing real letters, or going and meeting with your congressman to do something about this, because this stuff is serious and we need to pay attention now because our window of opportunity to stop this is small. Get out there and do what you can, everybody. Good luck. Until next time.